Hello everyone, it's Lawrence from Unicorn Reviews here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Raijintek Ereboss CPU air cooler. As you can see, this is the box, and this is the side of the box, where it says it supports pretty much everything socket-wise. Get some cool product pictures as well, and some specifications. So I'm just going to pull, if you can pause the video right here, you can read this yourself. But it just says it can start at 7 volts up to 12 volts, got sleeve bearings, and it fits everything. Other than that, the box is pretty simple. You just pull this little thingy out, and then you get the product. First up, what you notice is the fan has a nice braided cable. It's a really thin fan, so it's one of those slim fans. Looks pretty good though. Shouldn't be too much of a performance impact that it's so slim. Then also get a bunch of screws, the backplate of course I'm Tim in a bag, and the Intel and AMD brackets, as well as more screws and rubber thingies to hold fans in place. They actually supply enough to go with 2 fans on this thing. And then there's of course the heatsink itself. It's a nice aluminum heatsink. There's nothing else in the box. It's really shiny, especially in direct sunlight. It was kind of blinding us when we were installing it. As you can see, it has a bunch of heat pipes, 6 of them to be exact, and also has a hole for installation, as you'll see later, and some slots for thingies, and it's quite a shiny base. Has a plastic thingy on there. Installation is pretty hard actually. On the contact plate you mount this thingy, which has bubbles on it, and then the contact plate has holes in it, so it clicks together, and that's how you line it up and everything. What you then also get is the back plate. You use one side for Intel, one side for AMD. You get these longer screws with it, and you just push them through, and I found it easiest to just put all 4 in and then drop the motherboard on top of it, really, as I'm gonna try and demonstrate right now. But it was quite a tricky installation because of this. I like backplates that already have the thingies on there, or at least they click in place, or use little rubber thingies like Be Quiet has. So you can just drop the motherboard over it. This is really a 2-man installation. I guess it's doable if you're just on your own, but it's not the easiest thing to install. So I just put it down there, and then I try to drop the motherboard over on it. If you do a lot of these, you'll have some rough idea of where the holes have to be, all the pins have to be anyway. Once you then get it on there, you get these black thingies. I have no idea what to call them. They have a little bit of thread in them, and you just put them over the screws that you already have in place. Then you just turn them a bunch of times. Obviously, because the back isn't locked in place yet, it kind of just keeps turning, but eventually you'll get it done. You then get these brackets, so Intel brackets in our case. You just put the brackets on top of the thread that's already there, obviously in the right place, so that the heatsink is linear with the air intake and air exhaust, so you don't suck hot air off of your graphics card or onto your graphics card. And you just put these lugs on there, and everything should be in place. Make sure you have them the right side up. Quite important to do stuff like putting things the right side up. I'm a bit, I have 2 left hands really, and that's what happens when you put one the wrong way around, so it doesn't actually fit on there. But yeah, the installation is, this is just me being stupid here, but in all seriousness, installation is pretty tricky on this unit, especially the part you're going to see in a bit, because what happens is you have to put all of those thingies on there, of course, but then you also need to put the heatsink itself on those installed brackets. So you first click the other bridge on there onto the contact plate. And then you have these two little screws to screw the bridge into the other two bridge-like thingies. Of course, with the heatsink being quite big, and in the accessory box there wasn't really a screwdriver, it was quite tricky. And if you're someone like me who shakes an awful lot, I don't know why that is, it can be a bit, annoying to get it in there. So, why do it yourself when you have an assistant to do it? So then you can, the front one you can get in there with a normal screwdriver. Yeah, you should be able to get it in there. But then there's a little problem called the hole in the middle. There's not actually a screwdriver. Well, we didn't just have one that was long enough. So I started thinking, who else does heat sinks? And so I got a Noctua screwdriver. So my assistant right there, he's going to hate it when I call him an assistant, is going to hold it in place, and then I just put the long Noctua screwdriver in. I really wish Raijintek would also include one, because not everyone has these incredibly long screwdrivers laying around. Alright guys, so once you finished, if you managed to, installing the heatsink, you get these rubber thingies. Now normally you should plug them into the fan first and then slide the fan into these slots. We were, however, unable to slide the thingies in there. We were struggling to get them in there on their own, and when you had them connected up to a fan, it was really impossible, especially with the memory in there. And there's also two directions to mount the fan. So one side is slightly slimmer than the other one. Here's how not to do it, really, because we were struggling quite badly with it. Eventually we have got the fan on there. And once it's on there, it's great and it's somewhat secure. But we had to move the memory into the other slots in order to get the fan on there. So, mounting this thing isn't great. Let's put it that way. We did clear the PCI slot. So let's go to the conclusion. Alright guys, time for conclusion on the Raijintek Ereboss. As always, we're going to start off with the award, and I'm going to give it a gold award, because I always give really good products gold awards. The good things first, the price at 35 euros, it's, why bother buying anything else? It's also really good at performance. I haven't gone into performance yet. I just showed you guys unboxing and installation, really. So performance later, but the performance is good. I'm already going to tell you guys that. Sadly, the bad things are the mounting system. It's a bit tricky getting the heatsink on, and then getting the fan on is just in a completely different world. No, completely different game of tricky, really. Took me quite some time to actually get the fan on, and even then it wasn't me who got it on there, it was a friend. We also needed two people just to mount it. Another thing, bad thing with it is, just it uses a plastic backplate. I like really heavy metal backplates, but that's about it. Performance-wise, because that's what a heatsink is all about, really, price, performance. Performance-wise, it performed really well. I have the results here to my right, maybe my left to you guys, I don't know. So we used a Haswell 4770K. We used it at stock, and then we used it at 4.2 gigahertz. And our idle temperatures, we got around 30 degrees here. It's 21 degrees Celsius here in my room. So we got 30-ish on idle on stock, and we had not much more. We got 31 with the overclock, but it doesn't really matter because it uses the lower settings anyway with the speed step stuff. Then loads under stock settings, we had 69 degrees, which is pretty good in a 21 degree room. We didn't use the stock thermal paste. We went with Noctua NHT1, NTH1. I don't know what the order of the letters is, but like good Noctua thermal paste. And then with the overclock on there, we had 86 degrees, which, you know, isn't amazing, but it's more of an Intel thing. It's not the CPU's fault, the cooler's fault at all. It's the CPU's fault because of the crappy IHS on there. So we used it at 12 volts throughout the entire test. It is pretty loud, not extremely loud like the H100i, for example, but you know, we had a system with a D14 running at the same time, and you really do hear the system over it, despite actually having the cooler inside a Fractal R4. So you'll hear it when it runs on maximum. Of course, you can just turn it down, and the thermal performance is good enough anyway, so you don't really have to care too much. And you know, at 35 euros with a slim fan, yeah. Another thing, the fan is pretty big, so it was hitting the memory. We had G-Skill Ripjaw X on there. Couldn't use the first two slots, so we moved the memory into the other bank. That was no longer a problem. But still, with the fan, the fitting, you had these rubber thingies, and it was like they first designed it for a 120mm fan, and then they said, let's add a bigger fan to that. And then they forgot that the heatsink itself wasn't tall enough, so it's under weird angles that the rubber connection thingies were. But yeah, whatever. So that was pretty much it. If you liked the video, please like the video. If you disliked the video, dislike the video. And thank you all very much for watching. And also, thank you Noctua for providing me with the screwdriver I had to use to actually mount the thing, because the cooler didn't actually come with it.